I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Oh boy.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
Welcome in to Mississippi Live Weather here at 6 o'clock. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon, and we are tracking showers and thunderstorms again. This is about as good as our chances get. So yes, if you missed out yesterday, and I know we did have some flooding rainfall for some, if you've missed out today, it's not zero, but the chances aren't very good going forward for the next few days. Unfortunately, the pattern just is continuing to switch back to a drier conditions. That means humidity is more manageable, even though heats are going to spike up close, or the temperatures are going to spike up close to the triple-digit point. We'll, of course, welcome you into the room-to-room weather center here this evening. And as we look ahead, you'll notice here that our last decent rain chances are now, in some cases, we have some decent visibility from some showers out there, but in other spots, it's just bugs. Drought is expanding, unfortunately, and we'll look at that latest drought monitor here in just a moment. But as we're getting hot, the humidity becomes somewhat more manageable, and that is something that will kind of counteract the heat index, which typically we'd expect to spike, but it's a slightly drier air from a cold front. Unfortunately, not colder air that kind of stabilizes what could be a much more uncomfortable situation with this pattern shift. So 87 still at 7 p.m. Rain coverage sitting at about 40%. That's down to 20% by 10, 10% by 1 o'clock in the morning. We're 75 then and heading in the mid 70s. Again, limited rain chances in some form or fashion. Not particularly impressive, but do continue into the overnight hours. Look at our latest drought monitor here. Unfortunately, now more than half of the area under our level 1 drought. Some spots, though. Yeah, that's out there. Yalobusha, Grenada, back out toward Tallahatchie County. That under our level 2 drought, and it is probable that for some locations that could expand in the next coming weeks. But we've had some rainfall out there today. As we go over to analysis mode here on Mississippi Live Weather Radar, we're getting some help. And we'll start off, you can see where we have the showers and thunderstorms now, but I think on the wider scale, the bigger story is the fact that we have actually had some rainfall today, and some of those locations I mentioned, like Yalobusha County, like Tallahatchie County and Grenada County have seen it. And not all locations have been that fortunate. And I zoom in here closer where you see the yellows on there. In some cases, that's rainfall totals up in excess of 2.5 to practically 3 inches or possibly more out there. As we clear things back off and we kind of bring things back here to the regular mode here on Mississippi Live Weather Radar, you notice kind of the far northern corner there of Grenada County did not see or has not seen much at this point here. We're trying to see if we can expand some showers. I know it's kind of hard to not feel like you're being left out there because it is all directions, but this back there toward Oxbury could potentially try to bring in some of the rainfall for the far northern and northwest corner there of the county. Now we have seen, again, that heavier rainfall, whatever hail fell out of this, move through the south side and east side of Grenada there. Not a lot of hail potential out of what is left at this moment on this. As we check out the different threats on Mississippi Live Weather Radar, you'll notice less and less locations where we have some of those darker blues. So most of the blue you see here, again, that's where we could see some hail, but on a day like today, there's enough precipitation loading in the atmosphere because of the warm cloud processes. Nerd stuff to say, more often than not, it's not hail, it's just blinding rainfall that's detected. And I'd say all of this, that is probably the case at this point in time. Now, there is not a lot of very meaningful movement on these thunderstorms. We'll put this back into play. As you can see, just kind of blowing up and collapsing where they're at. I mean, this batch back there south of Charleston expanding westward, and then stuff out for Tutwiler try and expand east. So a lot of times we give you storm tracks. These are just following the fuel in this case here. We are watching a few thunderstorms back out toward Ackerman as well. The far western portion there of Choctaw County will come in a little bit closer on this batch here. It is a pretty big flare up of thunderstorms. And again, one of the things we check over and over again in this case is the rainfall rate gives us an idea of just how incredibly heavy that rainfall is. And you can see those rainfall rates in some cases where you show the pinks on there. This is just blinding rainfall up around 7 inches per hour if that were to stay put. And it doesn't, luckily, But where it does even a half hour, that's how you can see we just get these very, very heavy rainfall returns in a very quick period of time. Some of the spots I was looking at, we've already had an inch, and it's been less than an hour that the rain has been falling there near Ware, about 3 inches there, and the far northern portion there of Atala County, we're looking at about 3 inches of rainfall as well. Back to the regular rainfall mode, and one of the things I'll look at on here is whether or not we're seeing any wind kicked out of this. We have had a couple spots there. We have some wind returns. I'm going to look from the Jackson site just to verify that. And now just kind of looking at the latest on these scans here, it doesn't look like it's too terribly bad in the wind category, thankfully, but a lot of heavy rainfall with this near Chester and really west of Chester in particular. Back in the motion on this, we'll make it a 1 hour loop and we'll widen things out just a little bit more. Again, sort of expanding northward, and Gabe, I think we actually might be able to put a track on that one for you, Poor there. I'm only going to drag it north. We're only going to do it at around 10 miles per hour or so. And again, I think this is going to stay a little bit below severe limits there. Again, dragging that northward, right toward the Eupora there, about 10 miles per hour. So we would get that closer to the Eupora area. We're looking at about 647, assuming it doesn't pick up speed. And honestly, the hazard from a meteorological standpoint on tracking one of these is just the fact that that could collapse and then something else just pop up right overhead. And I think to a certain extent, kind of is, because if you look closer to Eupora there, we do have a spot just kind of on the north side of town right there. This rain-cooled air has kind of come through. So I think this around Bywai, as those storms come in from the south, this is going to kind of explode in the next 30 minutes or so, and that hopefully will get some rainfall for Eupora. I know a lot of folks would probably turn it down in and around those locations at this time. But of course, we do have some just a little bit back to the west. Is Maben up and working, Gabe, at this point? I know we had some issues there with Maben being down for a minute. We'll pull it up here. We'll check and see if it's back up and going. Should be pretty obvious there. Yeah. And actually, I tapped on 8 to 10 instead of Maben, I think, on that.
Pull up Winona right now. Winona has a great view of the structure of this storm.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Gabe looking from the west there in Winona back into it. And yeah, you can see, again, this is some of the really, we like to call them scary looking clouds on this there. Looks a lot more rough than it is. And sometimes we'll say bark is greater than the bite in this case. And there's kind of the rain-cooled air that causes this shelf cloud as well. So this is all that big mass of rain kind of kicking this out there, but kind of a cool shot, and appreciate the North Mississippi Storm Chasers, of course, for the way in which they have allowed us to use some of these cameras around. I'm going to go up to Pontotoc County, which had a lot more activity about an hour ago. And again, luffed with the rain-cooled air behind this. This is kind of the dream, right? 79 degrees. There have been some rain around, still some bubbly clouds there with that storm in around the area. Yes, Gabe?
Hail reported in East Oktibbeha County from Mary, and it looks like it has a decent core on it as well if you want to take a look at those.
Okay, so this is from Mary. Appreciate that report. Would that come in on Facebook?
Facebook, yes.
Okay, and that's the way, of course, where you can help us is send in those reports, and Facebook a good way to do that there. You mentioned the far eastern portion of Oktibbeha County, probably there again near Blackjack and Sessoms. I'm interested to see this. This is probably lifting northward there toward West Point as well, so it should not be terribly long before that makes it into the West Point area. I'm going to pull up our camera there in the Columbus area. We get the 4-panel there, and I might have to have you kind of zoom it in. That's the one we're going to want to see in the far lower left-hand portion of the screen there, Gabe. And I'll pull down where it shows Skycams for a moment. And again, just the dark gray there at the horizon. This camera kind of goes in and out from time to time. We might have checked some power outages actually on some of these here in just a minute. There in Columbus, coming in 81 degrees. You can see 22-mile-per-hour winds at this instant. One of those signs that it is rather breezy associated with these thunderstorms with some of those stronger wind gusts. And of course, just in time for me to click off of it is when it goes ahead and pulls that off as well. So again, near Tibby, we're showing that. And you can see the loop on this heading northward. Gabe, if you will kind of track it, start over here near the Stephen community. We'll kind of run the mouse up and around there close to Tibby and then back out toward Bel Air Estates, back out toward the west. Actually, hold on. I can draw it on here and I'll just have you drag the mouse out to the right speed. Okay, go and drag that up.
Teamwork.
Ah, see? Dream work. Okay, you can probably go just a little faster than that.
Okay.
There, about that speed. So we put that West Point about 630. We're looking at the Osborne community about 620 there, closer to Northgate 639, and White's by about 655. Again, this is a non-severe thunderstorm. I mention that because a lot of folks have asked questions about this recently, weather call in particular, something that we had at the old place. We do have an ability for you to sign up for weather call now. You can see that QR code below me here on the screen. It's a service that's a personalized tornado and severe thunderstorm warning when we get into severe weather. There wouldn't have been any of those for our area issued today. Let's be clear on that. It's when we're talking about 60-mile-per-hour winds or greater, or tornadoes, or hail larger than 1 inch in size, and it will call you back if tornadoes are confirmed when we're talking about tornado warnings or if extreme severe thunderstorms occur as well. There's some check boxes you can see when you sign up there. We're really excited to have the Weather Call folks on board. They're a group I've partnered with for about 20 years now, and I just believe in it because I believe a phone call will wake you up in the middle of the night, and text message or even alert from our phone, you can put it on Do Not Disturb and miss that. But a phone call that calls you can wake you up and can bust through that Do Not Disturb as long as you put it as one of those favorites there. Of course, encourage you to sign up, and very, very excited that we are going to be partnering with them going forward here on Mississippi Live Weather. I want to widen things back out here just to kind of check out the rest of the storms. Again, a few there in and around Monroe County as well that we are looking at there, all below severe limits, but really all kind of popping up in the last 20 minutes here, just kind of flaring up on that boundary. We talked about that at 5 o'clock. Gabe talked about these outflow boundaries that we do have, where you have some of that rain-cooled air, like right in there, spreading toward the south and east. So we talked about, I think that also at 5, that those will continue to kind of pop up some isolated showers and thunderstorms as they move in. Cameras, again, we like to show these. We appreciate all the folks that are in these areas that help us out. I'll start on Smithville. We'll work our way southward there. Already rain cooled to 78 degrees there in Smithville. That sounds fortunate in comparison to most spots. Not a whole lot going on there. We'll go down the track here in Monroe County to the Amory area, the mix of clouds. And you'll see here, we're looking west out of that. So we'd be looking a little bit too far north to catch that one there. We'd have to swing it down south. If you might move Amory, I'll come back to it here in a second, Gabe.
Just southwest?
I would say, yeah, more south, actually more south than southwest, but you're moving it just in time. And it's going to end up going to Aberdeen just in time there. So again, there's the heavier rainfall. Of course, it's closer to over top of Aberdeen as we look almost directly west out of our camera there in the Monroe County area. Go ahead and look back again toward Aberdeen there. Again, lots of gray, no tornadoes out of what we're having today. I think we need to be very crystal clear on that. There's no tornadoes, just a lot of heavy rainfall, gusty winds to go along with that there. And we're going to come back up to Amory because Gabe got it swung around there for us to get a good look at some of these showers there from the Amory area. And again, from a farther distance, what you can see here, and I don't know if this is going to let me illustrate on it. It won't. That's okay. But what you can see here, a fairly sharp edge on this. Anytime we kind of have a crisp edge that tells us we're still getting good air going up into it, and of course the rain-cooled air plopping out of that. Dark clouds, a lot of times just means we're blocking out a whole lot of sunshine. Appreciate, again, North Mississippi Storm Chasers for allowing us to utilize all those cameras there. So you mentioned that hail a minute ago, and again, I don't know if you've got any other reports out of that, Gabe, with those storms back down there in the Oktibbeha County area. I am going to check our various threats on our threat tracker here, which allows us to kind of boil everything down to one scan and look at this. And yeah, we did have some of that darker blue showing up just a few minutes ago. Bring it to the current scan there and kind of tag that for a moment. 1.5 inch hail possible showing up there. Of course, this is 45, this is 82. And of course, that interchange there, pretty much just to the north and east of that and closer to the West Point area. So they're all around West Point. I mean, it's not inconceivable you'll have a few hailstones with this in the West Point area. One good way to do this, we often do it, is looking three-dimensionally on this. And I know that sometimes this is something we're still kind of adjusting to the best way that we can show it for you. I'm going to come off camera because I want to cut into this a different way than we've been cutting. I want to cut into it and show just the strongest returns here for a moment, which allows us to look at that hail aloft sometimes in slightly better shape. So we'll go and put this into motion here. We will do a 1 hour loop on this at time. And so as this kind of shows it, it's still some of that larger, if it has hail in it, and if it was producing some hail. Did they say size on the hail?
They did not say size. They just said it was on the east side of Oktibbeha County. But they're still in the chat, more than likely, so we can ask them.
So we can ask them on that. So if you're talking about hail, always if you can give us an idea on the size, that certainly makes a big difference for us on understanding, what it's capable of. But I would still say up there, just north of Mayhew toward Tibby, if we had some hail over there close to the far eastern edge of Oktibbeha County, I think it's highly likely southern Clay County is going to probably see hail that's bigger within about the next 10 minutes or so as this kind of gets into the falling stage there. And that'll kick out some gusty winds. They'll head toward West Point as well. So bringing this back to 2D mode, and we're going to do that teamwork track on this one more time. Now that we have a better idea of what this is capable of here. So on the current scan, and now let's go ahead and track, again, this portion closer to Tibby. You're going to have to...
I might have messed it up. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'll go ahead and get it on there. So I would say right there, that portion close to Tibby. We'll drag that up, and I would take it north. And again, let's go, 10 miles per hour might be a little slow, but we'll say at slowest there, about 6:37 for West Point. Let's get a loop on this. I want to see, I'm going to make this a 30-minute loop because that'll fit. Yeah,
We probably needs to be up to 15.
Yeah, it needs to be a 15. So you widen out the shot just a little bit.
Yes, I'll get that.
There you go. And yeah, we'll drag that 15. I want to make sure that we got that time there just right for you. So, because hail's annoying in that whole sense that obviously it causes a little bit of damage. There's an updated time for you, West Point. We're showing 6:30. So current time is 6:15. So you have about 15 minutes to kind of move those cars inside if you can there. Certainly that would be our recommendation. Or if I were talking to Mrs. Lawpon, I'd be telling her the same thing. We're looking up northern Tippah County as well. Want to make sure we kind of get up there to that thunderstorm. You'll notice less of those pink returns showing up, even though it's heavier rainfall. This one here is moving more directly kind of southeast. It actually has some motion to it, whereas some of these just have been sort of drifting. And at this kind of angle here, actually I have it more south of east. Tiplerville, Collegiate, all kind of in the path of this as well. So I'm going to draw the track and I'll have Gabe carry it out for us there. So I'll say we carry that. One more loop there. Pull it down, let's see how far we go there. Farther, and we'll go more south than that. More south than that. I want to get Faulkner and Ripley in that. 23 is a little too fast. Let's go to about, man, this is a 30-minute, let me check here. That's a 1 hour loop. I'd take it only about 15.
Okay. We do have reports on that hail, by the way.
Okay.
It was...
give me just a second here on this, and then we'll go with that. So Collegiate, I'll kind of drag it over here for a second. 6:29 for you. We're looking at Tiplerville, 6:39. Faulkner, right about 7 o'clock. Walnut Creek, 7:02. And closer to Crumtown, about 7:07. Now, you mentioned we had a report coming from down there around the Golden Triangle related to that hail size. What you got, Gabe?
So hail east Oktibbeha, north of Artesia was about nickel size. That's from Zach Sims on Facebook.
We need to get that to the Weather Service. Okay.
Yes, I will put that in here in just a moment. Angela had a fun size comparison. She said thumb size.
Thumb size hail. Okay.
And then there was one more marble sized hail on East Oktibbeha County around Hickory Grove.
Okay, so I mean, we're dealing with at least some decent hail there, unfortunately, out of that. Another one of these thunderstorms. I think these are all, though they have some reds on them, they're small enough, we're not probably talking about hail. One of the interesting things, though, is this storm up around Whites, as these two kind of collide together, that's going to really kind of increase the rainfall chances as well. I know you need it in West Point, a lot of other folks need it, and maybe a couple hailstones again as that kind of flares up as well. Okay, we're going to take a quick break here on Mississippi Live Weather at 6 o'clock. In a couple of moments, we're going to look at the overall weather forecast, and then we're going to break down in much more detail latest on Mississippi Live Weather radar and the pattern shift that should take away, unfortunately, these rain chances. That's ahead, coming up on Mississippi Live Weather at 6.
At Room to Room, did you know our specialty is custom ordered upholstery? Get the furniture you want and the fabric and color selection you want. With our free design service, we won't let you make a mistake.
Your family deserves the most beautiful smile possible. At Tupelo Smiles, we use precision dentistry and advanced technology to make visiting the dentist an amazing experience. Relationship-based comprehensive care. Come discover the difference at Tupelo Smiles.
March 24th, 2023 was a normal Friday. You know, we knew the weather was not good, but we needed to take shelter, and we didn't have shelter. My husband and almost 2-year-old daughter, Ethan and Riley, they did lose their lives in the storm. We're still recovering from it. We'll always be recovering from it. Matt Lawpon cares about the community. He's not just there to collect a paycheck. I feel like Matt Lawpon has proven himself trustworthy.
Right now, from the Mississippi Live Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lawpon.
And we'll get back to Mississippi Live Weather Radar here in a moment, but we'll try to get a forecast for the folks that have not had a lot of rainfall out there. The heat index is going to be the story going forward for a couple of reasons. Number one, you'll notice how it does go up day to day. You know, we were up in excess of 100 for lost spots, what it felt like today. It's not an extreme increase, but by the first part of next week, up there where it's feeling close to 105 degrees. Again, here in the Room to Room Weather Center, we've been talking about the heat the last few days, and certainly really the last couple of weeks. But the reason this doesn't go higher is because of the dew point, which is a measure of moisture based on the same scale as the temperature. And notice how at the same time actual temperatures are going up, this is coming down, at least somewhat, relatively. And so that's going to allow the temperatures to flex up higher into the upper 90s without the heat index going to extreme levels. So I think we will have many folks still under heat advisories. We do have some of those out there even at this evening. Most locations in the Delta, even down to South Mississippi in the western part of the state, with heat advisories because of this overall pattern. But our futurecast here showing that as we start removing the rainfall, that's when we start adding some of those other things in. So again, on your futurecast, you'll see quite a few of those showers and thunderstorms. Positioning is always relative on this. We're looking for coverage in general areas. Models are not perfect, unfortunately. And so we will get back to that here in just a second, but I just want to show you a couple of these isolated storms and the coverage over the next few hours here, diminishing somewhat as we go later on into the overnight hours. And then as you can see, mainly drying things out by the first part of tomorrow morning. Not completely dry, still some lingering chances up near the Tennessee state line. Temperatures, we're looking at lower 70s out there for low temperatures for tomorrow mornings for many locations. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning, I believe, issued here for the storm that we were tracking there. This is the kind of bigger complex here back out toward Eupora. We talked about Eupora to expand in as we kind of had this outflow in the storms from the south. That combination has caused this to kind of clap together and increase in height. So that is our severe thunderstorm warning now in effect for locations in Clay County, Webster County. We'll go and bring it the latest scans here for a second. Oktibbeha County. This is the western portion of Oktibbeha County, not where we had that hail report. Choctaw County, Montgomery County, and Attala County. That severe thunderstorm warning effect until 7:15 p.m. So we clear that off there for a moment, and we look again those threats, the kind of one of the ways in which we can track the information related to this from our Columbus radar site. It does show that hail potential. I mean, we call it out for Eupora, and that's the spot here where it's showing the greatest potential on there at this time. So again, we're looking at, especially where you see that darker blue, potential maybe 1.5-inch size hail. Let's see exactly how reasonable that is. We're going to come 3D on this portion here, and we're going to cut through again to only the stuff that's most likely to produce some of that hail. So it's kind of like doing a CAT scan there as we cut through a thunderstorm. That's what we're sort of doing with this. And so you can see really there is that one spot there close to Eupora that this is kind of spiking up. And if you look aloft there, and I don't really show it very well right now, near Sapa there, I'm going to go and cut this a little further because I think I'm seeing, well, you start to see these, and it's going to be harder to see because there's kind of a black return, so I'm going to have to get a little more angle on it. This is some really intense returns up there in the thunderstorm. As that eventually collapses, that will be damaging winds, or that will be some large hail, and probably a combination of both of those things. So bring it back to 2D mode so you kind of see where that is oriented over right now. That is going to be kind of expanding out here, Sapa, really along the Natchez Trace Parkway. I know we have East Webster High School up there close to the Cumberland area, and so this could be kind of expanding there, Mathiston as well. I'm going to see if I can pull up Mabin, which did not want to come up when I looked a minute ago here. Give me just a moment to see if we can bring that up.
Mabin's under control, will be fixed tomorrow.
Mabin will be fixed tomorrow? Okay, unfortunately that's the case. But we can pull up Adaton and have a decent shot of that as well. Again, this is one of our cameras from the North Mississippi Storm Chasers in the Adaton community. So give me just a moment to get that one pulled up for you. And hopefully we'll have a shot there back into this. We're zoomed in fairly well, kind of looking at this thunderstorm. Again, the angle, I should be able to see it there, 286 degrees. So it's kind of just a little bit more north of west. And so that is the part of the thunderstorm we're watching. Actually, if we could move this to the right a little bit, I think that might be our hail core, the bright white reflecting back with that. Well, no, maybe not exactly at the edge there. 307. Give me a moment to look at that. Well, ultimately, I guess the hail core is not fully coming in. So let's go back a little bit to the south. So
it looks like it's that shelf, and that shelf is more pointed towards the north. So that's why the camera's not picking it up altogether, because it kind of just evaporates into the white in the background.
Exactly. So I think, right there is where our larger hail. Well, let's be honest, it's not hitting the ground yet. In that area, they might not even be seeing hail yet, but they will, and that's kind of the point in this case here. The reason why the National Weather Service has issued this severe thunderstorm warning for this thunderstorm there. Because I'm still, believe it or not, in 3D mode. I'm going to put a few more thunderstorm returns back on. That does a better job of kind of depicting the general area. We cut the most, and now we're kind of showing that progression. So I'll go back a couple scans on this here. Yeah, it's getting closer to dropping right there. So right along US 82, if you know some folks going to be traveling from Starkville back out there toward Eupora, I think the heaviest of this probably stays a little bit to the east of Eupora. But as that collapses, that also could kick out some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Let's go to the wind mode here on Mississippi Live Weather Radar. That wind yet to hit the ground on this, so it's still kind of in the waiting mode, unfortunately. Well, I say that it's spreading out a little bit there, so it hasn't fully hit with the strongest winds. But of course, we try to give you as much preparatory time as possible related to that. So again, tracking that toward the folks up there in Cumberland, I mentioned you a moment ago, there's not a lot of forward movement on this, and the rain will get here before this. Let's go 11 just in case. We showed Clarkston there at about 6:55, Dancy at 7:20. Let's clear that off. Let's try the what we call squall track. And it's, I mean, really not that far away from Cumberland at this point here. Assuming it moves 10 miles per hour, Cumberland, we show about 650 for you, famed commute at 702. This is probably some hail in excess of 1 inch in size, probably some damaging wind gusts to go along with that as well. Certainly one of the stronger thunderstorms that we have had and tracked today, and really this week for that matter. And again, it's right on that outflow boundary. Now, here's the deal. We talked about this for you in West Point as well. There's, I think, some concern that something similar could happen for you because you have the wind coming from this storm up in the north, the outflow up there on the north side of town, and then you have this storm coming in from the south as they clap together, and they build and then collapse probably over the same spot. And so I think the hail potential on that for West Point probably on the increase there back toward Koala Springs. I'd say all in there. Kolala Springs, I'm sorry about that, back toward Caledonia. We might check that Caledonia camera, and we probably have to look back toward the west with that, and we'll look at that here in a minute. Back to the wind mode here on Mississippi Live Weather Radar. And again, some of those gusty winds starting to come into the south side of the West Point area right now. We'll check our camera there in West Point, which I don't have on that there, so give me just a moment to pull it up a different way here. Point, and I'll have to put it in play in the, fortunately it pops off the map there for a second, and then it'll populate in with all the different cameras that we have. So this is on the south side there, and you can see on this corner here, that is the heavy rainfall and even some of the hail from that storm on the north side of town. And then you can kind of see a little bit of the clouds on the west side of town as well as we're looking from downtown back toward the west. This is on the north side a little bit closer there. Unfortunately, difficult to kind of pick out on that because of the way I have this set up. And I don't think I can disassemble it, unfortunately. But obviously the heavy rainfall moving in and the gusty winds are going to be picking up with that there. I do want to check power outages here for a moment. We have not had a whole lot of reports of power outages, but considering some of these storms are strengthening a little bit, yeah, that's what I was wondering about there. Let's bring it back to the current scans on Mississippi Live Weather Radar. The power outages are not extreme here, but we're starting to pick up a few out there. Closer to Chula, about 200. Tala County, 100. Only about 300 there. Eupora, excuse me, in Ackerman and Choctaw County. Webster County, about 100, and about 100 there in Grenada. So luckily, nothing that's too terribly over the top, but this data does tend to lag a little bit. We do have a few power outages we talked about during our 5 o'clock broadcast up here for Tippah and Alcorn counties, about 1,200 between those two locations, and then out toward the Memphis area, about 1,500 back up that way. Okay, back here kind of on the home view and bringing it back to the rainfall mode on Mississippi Live Weather Radar. So again, don't want to go too far past this, but still watching some of these thunderstorms back here closer to the Strong community and back out toward the Mayhew area as well. Those will probably collide together as well. Let's bring in our meteorologist, Gabe Maynard, here for a moment. Gabe?
Well, 8 to 10 does have a good look at that severe thunderstorm moving through portions of Choctaw County. We have it zoomed in right now on the heaviest portions, that leading part that where it's the most electric part. And so watching with how much lightning is being produced, this is probably, a lot of those power outages are attributed to that lightning as well. Yeah,
absolutely. We've had a ton of lightning today. I would say this is the part of the thunderstorm where I think the largest hail is yet to really fall out of this. Again, looking back toward locations of western Oktibbeha County, looking generally speaking back there toward the Mabin area and Mathiston. That's where I think some of that hail is obviously going to be a lot closer to you within the next few minutes here. We'll go back to the precipitation mode on here. We'll bring it back into that, and we're going to kind of proceed with our forecast. But yeah, so where 8 to 10 is, I'm not for sure that wasn't the center, a water tower closer to Center Grove. That might have been all the way the Mabin water tower there. Not sure exactly how far that was zoomed in, but we were looking right there toward, that was kind of a low-hanging cloud right there as that expands up here, really along the Natchez Trace Parkway where the largest hail probably going to end up falling on that. I'm going to 3D cut this, and then we need to get the rest of the forecast in here for a moment. So go back to 3D, and we'll put the slice, and we'll put the slice on it right there. Just give me a moment to see if that hail is still, yeah, hail is getting closer to the ground as of the latest upper level scan there. So I would say right there close to the, let's double check and make sure we got the exact spot right on the Choctaw and Webster County line is where that biggest hail is falling there, kind of between Eupora and Mathiston, right along 82. So that should be fun, unfortunately, for those folks driving along there. Of course, tongue in cheek referring to it as fun. The wind mode, luckily the winds have not gotten over the top on this yet from really any of our perspectives there. So that's a good sign, but I think certainly the wind will start kicking up a bit more. And these thunderstorms back out here, Tutwiler toward Charleston again, have flared up pretty well. Put a loop on this here for a moment, make it a 1 hour loop. And this batch, again, I think flooding rainfall, my main concern with this area back here, we've already seen upwards of 3.5 inches, perhaps higher, as far as rainfall accumulations are concerned out of this. Look at the accumulations over the last 3 hours. We'll go ahead and pause in the latest scan. Yeah, I think I have some spots there, maybe 4 inches of rainfall already starting to show up. If I click just the right spot on there. You can get a bullseye. Yeah, I don't know if we'll get one, but yeah, I mean, obviously we're pretty hefty. There was a 4-inch rainfall total. Anyway, with that in mind, let's go ahead and finish up our typical weather forecast, and then we'll come back here and do a little more tracking after the next break. But low 70s out there for morning lows for tomorrow morning. Again, as we look through your Friday on Futurecast, not as many rain chances as what we had today. I think we'll still try to pop up a few of those as we progress into the afternoon, but still you can see through late morning, through midday, not a lot showing up out there, and perhaps some dense fog, kind of like this morning, where you had some of that heaviest rainfall amounts. 2-3 o'clock though, we hit what we call convective temperature, and those storms start popping up into the afternoon. Still more limited in coverage, and these aren't particularly large thunderstorms, but there's again some of those out there, 6 p.m. or so. So we're 20, maybe 30% on that rain coverage looking at this here. I'd like to be optimistic. I think we hit rain coverage yesterday, we've hit it today, and here's hoping that maybe we can do 20 to 30 for tomorrow. High temperatures into the middle 90s with heat indices up in excess of 100. We have heat advisories once again in effect for locations in the Delta, extending out here closer to Water Valley. Was Grenada in it, I believe, right?
I'd have to look
Grenada
back.
and Yalobusha County. Give me a second, and I should be able to, well, we'll have to probably check that one here in a minute on the heat advisories on that. So we'll get that after the next break to just double check counties. Now, here's the funniest thing you're going to see in the next 5 minutes. Cold front, sort of. In name only, right? Because this boundary, I think, could possibly kick out a couple of showers and thunderstorms into Saturday pre-dawn hours, but this isn't colder air, it is drier air. Gabe, yes?
Grenada is included.
Okay, Grenada is included in that. So we'll look at that again coming up here in a minute. And then as we go into your Saturday, possibility for some spotty showers trying to pop up in the afternoon if we engage the heating of the day. This is optimistic considering we expect drier air, but I'm not fully against optimism. Let's just say that I'm not also terribly convinced on what we're looking at on that. So here's hoping, but that drier air probably dries us out. Of your 2 weekend days, most likely to be dry on Sunday. And mid-90s out there for highs on your Saturday afternoon with heat indices. Again, up here in excess of 100, close to 110 for some spots in the Delta. That's where we will be the hottest. That's where we will, again, maybe even have some of those heat advisories as far east as close to I-55, maybe even Bruce or Eupora showing up with that. So hour-by-hour forecast for North Mississippi on your Friday. We're expected 74 at 7 a.m., 89 degrees by noontime, 93 your high, feeling like it's around 100, if not a little in excess of that, and rain coverage 20 to maybe 30% out there. I'm trying to be optimistic on that because by Saturday, again, non-zero rain chances as you saw on Futurecast just a moment ago there, but many of us are probably still dry through Sunday and Monday of next week for most of us before rain chances come back a little bit. But yes, 98 Monday, 98 degrees Tuesday. The thinking is slightly drier air allows more room to boost those temperatures a little bit more. We'll have more Mississippi Live weather radar here in just a moment as Mississippi Live weather at 6 continues right after this.
Here is your opportunity to add 2 beautiful guns to your collection and support scouting. Scan the QR code to purchase your chance to win a Browning Citori 725 Sporting Maple over and under 12 gauge shotgun or a 75th anniversary Boy Scout commemorative Winchester Model 9422 rifle. Support the Natchez Trace Council Scouts with your raffle entries today.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
1 in 10 kids vape. Each vape pod can contain the same amount of nicotine as a pack of cigarettes.
The health class film guy isn't the best person to talk to your kid about vaping.
Got a few minutes?
You are. Talk to your child about vaping today.
Okay, so back here on Mississippi Live Weather Radar, I do want to kick back here for just a second because we promised we'd show this a second ago. Those heat alerts for tomorrow, again, we still have those out for Yalobusha, Grenada counties, and pretty much everybody else in the Delta. It's probable these will eventually expand eastward, probably through the weekend, just depending on the exact timing of how this all works out. Okay, now back out here to Mississippi Live Weather Radar, and we have been getting in some of your weather pictures. That's something our meteorologist Gabe Maynor has been kind of working on here from the Room to Room Weather Center. Gabe, what do you got?
Well, several pictures about the structure, and this one coming in there towards Kilmichael area. This was off of Highway 82. Is this able to pull up behind me by chance?
Oh, yes. Hold on. There you go.
Perfect. Okay, so this is a look at Kilmichael, and you can see some of the structure on that storm. This was pre-severe storm, but definitely building in as we head further into our afternoon, and that was submitted by Brittany, so thank you to Brittany for submitting that. Ben capturing this in Ackerman, and this is when it reached that severe level threshold, and you're kind of seeing those, they almost look like tentacles coming out of the sky, but just some of that scud cloud reaching out from the base of that shelf cloud, just a result of some of those stronger thunderstorms, that severe thunderstorm that did get issued. We also got a shot from, I have to look back at the name, I apologize, but we got a picture from Chelsea in Ware, and this is a picture of some damage. There we go, right there. This is damage to an extent because what it is it's some of those gusty winds knocking over a play set. So yesterday we had, a rabbit cage, and today we have a play set. So
hey, damage is damage.
Damage is damage.
And that it takes you a while to put this stuff back together. Now these, again, good examples of non-sturdy structures.
Yeah, and whenever it's loose, it can kind of fall over from 20, 30 mile an hour gusts. It doesn't take 60 to do damage. 60 is really whenever it becomes more structural damage and things like that. So watching for that with this thunderstorm that we're rolling on through. But Matt, just great pictures of the structure of this storm rolling on through, but definitely an intense storm as it continues to trend further into Oktibbeha and then on there towards Webster County.
Absolutely. And so it's kind of this zone here. We have a couple of these boundaries colliding that we're watching the most closely here at this time. And you'll notice more and more spots where we have show kind of the blues showing up here indicating our radar says, hey, there could be some hail with some of this batch. Part of this is going to be skewed because the closer we are to the radar site has more and more difficult time assessing what's happening up higher up in the thunderstorm here, which is part of the reason why I'll show you this kind of in 3D mode here for a second. If I come up to this storm where it's like, oh, we almost definitely have hail, you see how it's just kind of cutting off the top of it? Because the radar site can only scan so high so quickly. We don't have a point straight up because that would only get right over the radar site. And so because of efficient scanning methods, it cuts off the top of this there. So that's part of the reason why sometimes, again, the tools we have require some interpretation. But I would say, looking at that one storm over top of Hamilton there, the heaviest is definitely not on the ground at this point here. So there, I would say just right over top of Hamilton. Let's see if we can get some motion on that. Despite the fact that I was just slamming the threat tracker, with those two boundaries coming together there. Yeah, you can see one right there, and then this batch to the south. Yeah, I mean, that right there could plop down right over top of Hamilton and just kind of, I know we have some spotters out there and some pictures there as well that we can hopefully be able to take a look at. But let's look at what this looks like to the naked eye from Caledonia there in Lowndes County. A good shot here coming in of just that hail core probably. So we're looking 274 from Caledonia.
299 now. It moved a little bit more north. This is the heart of that inflow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say that's the hail right there. Do you see how it's kind of up a little bit there? That's not necessarily like a lot of times we'll have that the shelf cloud, which might just be beginning to form there. But I would say that is the hail still in the process of falling. If we were to time lapse this, you'd probably be able to see this kind of grayish color start hitting the ground. So some of that hail's hit the ground there. obviously a lot of lightning strikes with it as well, but that's probably some of the hail still in the process of falling out of that there. So some gusty winds as that hail core hits the ground, likely as well. Beautiful shot. And again, appreciate the good folks with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers for partnering with us. I'm going to move my toolbar at the bottom there so you can more effectively see their logo. They are a 501c nonprofit. So if you would like to support them, certainly I think they would accept that support. What they're doing with these cameras is pretty special. Not a lot of places around the country have it, and yet it's one of those times where Mississippi, sometimes we don't have what everyone else has. We've got something a lot of folks don't have. So we should be, we're very blessed. And so if you'd like to donate to them, of course, you can go to nmscas.org to do that, or just look up North Mississippi Storm Chasers on Facebook. They have plenty of links to be able to do that as well. Some of the hail showing up, I think, aloft here. What we've got going on, we've got a bunch of outflow boundaries colliding. And so we've got one of these areas of rain-cooled air kind of coming out of this there from Starkville. We've got another one back out here, from Maben. And again, I think we've dropped some of that big hail there, whatever it was, right along US 82, if not within a mile south of that. That has now spat out everything that was doing hail-wise. And so I do need to kind of revisit our severe thunderstorm warning. We've talked about it. We've talked about other things as well. But the reason we're talking less about this, despite the fact that, yes, we still have a severe thunderstorm warning on this until 7:15, is the fact that I think whatever big hail it was going to drop is already kind of fallen there over top of US 82. And so what then is now happened, it's kicked out some rain-cooled air, and that would, on the far kind of north and the eastern portion of that warning, would be the spot where we're more likely to see some of that hail probably falling out of it as well. I'm just kind of checking back and forth here, looking at our chat at this point. Primarily it looks like lightning and all that sort of information, what people are talking about. Is that correct, Gabe?
Yes, lots of lightning, just the SPS due to, or should I say the special weather statement being issued because of just those gusty winds and that possible hail as well. No confirmed reports of hailstones there in Monroe, or should I say Clay County now, moving into Monroe and about to be Lowndes as well. I want to say Caledonia building a bit more as all that cluster kind of merges together, and that south end of the storm looks like it's going up there as well, about to intensify it just a bit more for a skate or two.
Let's clarify something here. When we get into, I guess, the heart of severe weather season, you're going to see a lot more storm tracks than what you've seen today. The reason is I'm pretty smart, but getting you the exact angle that these are going to work is difficult. This batch here actually is kind of moving north, but then this one is kind of moving south. So to give you a real time in West Point, it's kind of when these collide, which is in the next 10 to 15 minutes. Well, really, it's already starting on the south side of town, but on the kind of the northwest side of town there, or northeast side of town, closer to the Yokohama plant, that's probably where some decent sized hail, if it's going to do it on that storm, that's probably where it's going to do it, as we're watching that there. And you mentioned Caledonia kind of building. Heavy rainfall has already kind of moved through the Aberdeen area there. As we kind of come west, and you can see lots of the pinks showing up here closer to Tutwiler, out toward around Webb and Glendora there. In general, though, just kind of looking back here at the threats, you'll notice mainly heavy rainfall out of that as well. On kind of the wider shot, that's, I think, the main thing with the exception of what we have going on there closer to Aberdeen. I do want to come up here, the far northern part of the state, up here, oops, went a little too close in there, to northern Tippah County. That batch, again, you can kind of see just a movement on this one kind of expanding almost back southwestward. So everybody kind of choosing their own direction as far as this is concerned. Adventure in its own way. Memphis, we're looking at the precipitation mode, and yeah, you can see just kind of eating where the fuel is and just kind of following where it's going, so redeveloping those thunderstorms kind of on the east side. So that's why there's very little meaningful trackable movement on some of these thunderstorms. So I'm gonna track this, even though there's a rain-cooled band that kind of runs ahead of this. Man, I mean, I might be overdoing it at 10 miles per hour there. So Brody, we show about 651. We're looking at Canaan, about 658. Hamilton, there's a different Hamilton, obviously, up there northwest part of the state, about 658 there. Blackjack, 717. Again, another Blackjack. There's a lot of these names that I'm going to have to relearn some smaller spots on here. So appreciate your patience and grace on that as we kind of figure things out. But those storms kind of expanding back toward the south and west with that there. So yeah, it looks like I think we're past our peak on the severe thunderstorm warning. You can see there still until, for Choctaw County, in effect there until 7:15. As I bring all the precipitation back onto the radar for a moment, I think we're really kind of past the worst of a lot of spots. We're going to come back there, Southern Monroe County, here in a minute. We promised we'd talk about the pattern, right? And so there's obviously a part of it. those excessive heat advisories that are in effect, heat alerts, as you can see the way we kind of describe it on there, but those heat advisories. The pattern here aloft starts to kind of set up over the next couple of days where we start to see a bigger ridge sort of developing. As this ridge builds in, the heat will really build in as well. It's kind of been in play from a couple different angles lately, but it's really the western portion of this that forces the jet stream way up north. And so any kind of relief we would expect out of that kind of shifts to the north as well. And so the thinking is most of the direction of our kind of mid-level winds, not ones that typically bring us meaningful rainfall. Part of the reason we shut off the rainfall tap over the course of the next couple of days associated with this overall kind of shift in the weather pattern there. So again, our day planner going through the remainder of this evening. We'll continue to have rain coverage around 40% or so still at 7 p.m., 20% by 10 p.m., and mainly out of here, but not a zero chance as we progress into the overnight hours. I love that 87. I don't know, many people are still at 87 at this point. We've got a lot of rain-cooled air that has kind of kicked in here to a certain extent. Gabe, I'll have you check the weather pictures one more time.
Oh, I was just going to say that someone said in chat, I believe it was Brittany, said it rained enough yesterday. I don't think we need any more today. And from the Mainer house, you would appreciate a few more drops today.
Just a couple more drops as far as that is concerned. While you're over there, and I don't have a program to work for anybody else yet, I'm going to kick you up over to the weather call here for a second, just to remind folks about that way that if these warnings are issued, like the one we have down there, that you can sign up for that and get that phone alert with my voice. I've recorded everything. I need to double check to make sure that it is playing at this instant, but it's something that I've been talking about weather call for 20 years. I think it's probably the most valuable thing I spend money on for my entire family, because I can stand up here and not worry in the least that my wife and my kids are okay, because I know that they have weather call, and when they get that weather call, or when the sitter gets the weather call, that they can go to shelter. And I love our app. It is fast. It is a lot faster than what we've had before. But weather call is a phone call, and you can't ignore a phone call. You can miss an alert. And trust me, you can tell any of the advertisers trying to get a hold of me, and I apologize for this. I'm missing a lot of alerts right now, but those folks that found my number have gotten more attention, and I apologize for that, and we'll eventually get through and do that as well. Appreciate you being my mannequin up there, Gabe.
I feel like I modeled it well.
You did.
I can't go grab the weather call thing. I'm stuck in my box, but I did what I could.
I'll make one of those boxes for me over here on this camera. I just haven't done that yet. Barely got that one up in time. So I want to check out these last storms here, most of which are honestly outside of the severe thunderstorm warning, just to kind of double check to see how they're behaving. I would say this Monroe County storm, and we have not had a lot of reports on the other storms, but this one is as healthy as most of what we have seen today. It's just we don't have a good upper level look at it, but I have some really strong returns there. Closer to the ground, at least 60 to almost 65 dBz. So that's some blinding rainfall at the least out of that, trying to kind of kick there. So right over top of Hamilton, the heaviest. I'm surprised Alan hasn't messaged us. We got a great viewer down there. Monroe County Coroner Alan Gurley tends to give us information, and he's right there in Hamilton. So I'm sure if he had something, he would let us know, and he'd be pretty good at sending a picture. So we'll see if we have that in coming up during our broadcast.
Caledonia still has a good look on that storm if you want to take it again.
Okay, yeah, we'll check out that Caledonia camera here because again, we're just kind of tracking all these out here. We'll wait for that to update the latest, yeah? And again, this is going to have a lot of low-hanging stuff, a lot of wicked-looking stuff, and I apologize. We have not hit another level. It's just there's a time of day where the air conditioning changes here in the building, or maybe it's just I've talked enough that I've hit my warm point. I'm going to call it my menopause. I get hotter nowadays than I used to. So again,
it's the matapause. There you go.
I am not claiming that one. South wind's about 13 miles per hour. This would be nearby at the Columbus Air Force Base. With what they're getting there. That's what's kind of ingesting into this thunderstorm. All the low-hanging, fingery sort of stuff there. Not tornadoes. We're not talking about tornadoes out of this. There are no tornadoes tonight, so I don't want the fact that we're talking about this in any way, shape, or form make you think that tornadoes are what we're getting. That is not the case. Go ahead and hit refresh over there on that browser. See if we've, on that one.
Yeah, we have 2 more pictures.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and toss to Gabe here for a second because you have a few more weather pictures to show.
Yes, and so these were submitted by Long Lawn and Starkville, and this is a look out there. I believe this is off 182. You see the 182 exit. So this is on 82, staring at what looks to be east, and you just see some of that low cloud cover, the dark cloud cover. I mean, it definitely looks like a menacing storm as it's rolling on through, and not just there, but also in West Point. This was from Mike, and here's a good look at some of the stuff that's kind of overhead. So it looks a little bit more menacing than what's actually happening, but that leading edge is definitely packing a punch with those gusty winds and some decent hail is what we expect to happen with these storms. So paying attention to that, and also looking at the National Weather Service on this, we do have a flood advisory now in effect for Tallahatchie, Yallowbush, Oklahoma, and Quitman. So watching for those, as well as some of those rainfall rates, talking about we got 4 inches in some parts. But 2 to 4 inches possible, so it's been a downpour, and that's why that's in effect. Some of those areas that are susceptible to flooding, well, that can happen, and you can see some of those totals on your screen. I do see a 4.4 right there towards Webb, 2.7 just outside of Tutwiler, Oakland 2.7, and then over there, Grenada even coming in with a decent rainfall total as well. But Grenada's not in the flood advisory. It's still going to be this primary threshold labeled in this green box, and that is in effect until 8:45 this evening as that heavy rainfall continues to roll on through.
And it's hard to not feel sorry for the folks there in the middle that haven't seen much. About a 10-mile area there between where you have flooding and possible flooding as well, unfortunately showing up for there.
Gotta love summer forecasting where it's still hit or miss even on our best rain chance days.
I know, and this is definitely our best rain chance day. Appreciate that, Gabe. Okay, so come back here to Mississippi Live Weather Radar, going back to the precipitation mode, and we'll make a judgment call if we're going to go and shut this down. I'd like to see them cancel the severe thunderstorm warning first. I honestly believe the threat is largely over out of this. I want to look at southern Choctaw County down here, close to Bowie Chapel, east of that, north of Kerr, kind of in the Panhandle. That's what at least James down there, one of our North Mississippi storm chasers, always refers to as the Panhandle, there on the south part of, depends on how you're wielding the pan, right? You know, if you have a vertical, right? You're coming after somebody with a pan, it could be Panhandle.
I guess.
I don't know. The leg down there, somebody will correct us in the comments. I have no doubt about that. Let's look at the hail potential out of this as our severe threats. And this does have a bit more there in the last couple of scans, spot where it says maybe 1 inch size hail. Again, we have not had hail size of that sort confirmed to this point. Of course, send us your pictures as well as you can comment with us in the live chat there. Someone mentioned the suspenders off. No, I'm just hot.
Yeah, you are, Matt.
Walked right into that one. Okay, so luckily non-severe, the way, again, we've described most of this thunderstorm, but I'd say this is the one spot that could potentially still have some of those damaging wind gusts with it if it were to kind of produce it. It's kind of flared up more, and that's kind of working its way more toward Louisville. Now, again, I would put a track on it, but the fact that this is sitting 10 miles away from Louisville, and this might be moving 5 miles per hour towards you. So it probably falls apart or at least kicks out a different storm before it actually makes it into and around your area. I'm gonna check out some power outages here for a moment and do kind of a one-over on everything and then kind of make an assessment of where we go from here. You can see the power outages on the increase over the last 20 minutes or so because of these thunderstorms. And so we'll kind of bring it in the latest scan here for a moment and kind of query some of those. We're up to 300 power outages there in Choctaw County, about 100 down for Kosciuszko, in Atala County, Montgomery County, Grenada County, as well as Webster County, all with 3 spots there with 100 power outages east. We do have a new severe thunderstorm warning now issued for Clay and northeastern Oktibbeha County. And this storm is probably still strong enough. You can see they've gone until 7:30 for that expiration time on this severe thunderstorm warning there. As I bring up our precipitation mode back here on Mississippi Live Weather Radar, you can see more than anything, again, it's blinding rainfall, but some strong wind gusts possible. 3D has kind of done the best job of showing this because we've kind of cut through it just to the part that matters most. And in doing that, you can see there's kind of that stripe there on the north side of Starkville, just north of US 82. That's probably the most intense at this moment. Make it a 1 hour loop here for a moment. And again, that all kind of falling where it is. So, you know, where it pops up, where it's collapsing with its strongest, I'm gonna pull off where it says the warning there because that keeps popping on and my ADHD does not handle that very well. So there we go. Okay, so what you can see though is the heavy precipitation there. This is US 82. This is Starkville, of course, Mississippi State campus right about there. And so this is going to be north of the campus. And so the strongest wind damage and everything just honestly north there. And honestly, if you look closely at the yellow outline, they did a good job of kind of cutting around most of the city of Starkville. It's on the north side there and stretching up closer to West Point where we're watching this. I know we got a lot going on here. What we're looking at is heavy rainfall and hail combination up into the clouds. And again, severe weather season, I don't think we're necessarily going to have the time to be able to kind of look and analyze this. So I'm trying to hopefully educate at the same time so you know more what you're looking at, because my firm belief is that you don't have to live or die based on what I'm saying. I think we can hopefully teach folks to be able to see this and understand more of this on their own. But some of that hail on the north side of West Point, and then we have that batch up there closer to Hamilton. So this pink you see a lot are the very intense returns, and hail and very, very heavy rainfall reflect back the most energy toward the radar site. So that's where we get these pinks there fairly high up on our scale. I want to cut them the most intense part because that helps us to see either where you have just really, truly blinding rainfall or where you have the potential for some of those larger hailstones. So as we go back to 2D on this, you can see what that is. So right there close to the Rocky Hill area, there's 389. That little white you see there, that little blob of white right on the Clay, Oktibbeha County line. And then I thought I saw one up closer to West Point. Let's go back a scan or two just to make sure I'm not missing that there. Nope, it does not look like West Point's at the worst of that. I think I might have been seeing Hamilton up here. Yeah, right up there closer to Hamilton. I'll bet that Caledonia camera, it's practically on top of them.
It's popping off right now.
You're going to make me learn Gen Z one way or another, aren't you?
One way.
This is one way. Raindrop there. This is a raindrop likely on the camera, which is why it's kind of fuzzier there. We'll have to see as it progresses here in the next couple of moments. But again, this is that heavier rainfall kind of moving into the Caledonia area. Caledonia, of course, on the north side there of, yeah, so you can see there's another arrival there of the raindrop. So that's how you can kind of tell it's the raindrop in both of those cases. So this is obviously moving into Caledonia. The largest hail, if there's hail, and the heaviest rainfall and the lightning, of course, kind of approaching as well. At the Air Force Base, 84, the temperature, south wind showing up at this point in time. Now, as far as the severe warning is concerned, and double check to see if Caledonia is in it, because you are not in that. But of course, that's the part of the thunderstorm that's up here in Hamilton that's a little more impressive. I do want to check wind here for a moment, looking at the wind mode on Mississippi Live Weather Radar, kind of assessing that. And I don't have anything that's over the top. Now, I'll be honest, I made our scale here when I was designing the color table on this a little more aggressive than what we had at the old place. The point on that being that it will take a higher wind rating in order to start showing a brighter color on here. So that's just one, I want to be honest about kind of the way I structured that. I did that so that hopefully it was easier when we started looking at truly severe winds to kind of pick those off of the map. And we only truly get those, 4 or 5 times a year on a kind of widespread scale, but hopefully that is the case. So that sometimes it's going to make this a little bit more difficult to kind of see on there. Back to the rainfall mode on Mississippi Live Weather Radar. Let's clear that off for a moment. Look on a wider scale. Again, that flood advisory out west. Looking up here closer to Ashland. Changes this over to the Memphis radar site. And that one's still kind of expanding back toward the south and west, isn't it? That odd movement. Again, following the fuel, in this case, trying to encroach there on Brody, but just a very, very slow thunderstorm. I'm creeping. This is a 1-hour loop. And over the 1 hour, I show it going what? Well, maybe 7 miles an hour. That was a little faster than I thought, actually. So you can actually contract something at 7, but it falls apart pretty quickly. I mean, there's 7. There's your hour. Not fast movers. And that's why the rainfall and the flooding rainfall potential is the bigger deal out of these.
There's an education opportunity. James said that he just submitted a picture from Central Clay County. I'm going to work to get that up here in a second.
Okay.
But he said that he doesn't know if it shows it on the picture, but there was some greenage. And greenage means?
Means hail.
There you go.
Just the way in which it reflects back there. And I'm going to give you that on the monitor when the time comes. Oh, I just guess you'll have it next to you there when the time comes as well. So severe thunderstorm warnings. Again, we have 2 in effect. I would say the one out here for Webster, for most of Choctaw County is largely a non-issue. Southern Choctaw County, again, more heavy rainfall. Obviously, I need to put the lightning strikes back on there. The reason I pulled them off is because they are unceasing. Look at this we've kind of had them off most of this broadcast. If I go for the whole area over the last half hour, we've had 4,300 lightning strikes. But notice if I just hone in on where we've had these severe thunderstorm warnings and borderline severe, you've had almost 3/4 of those just in this smaller area. So, and in particular, if you come down here for the southern portion of Choctaw County, you've had 2,000 just on that batch there. I want to look up here in the north part, about 1,500 or so. Math isn't mathing on that very well. Oh, because I think it's taking in lightning strikes that go below the banner as well. Okay, that's an important thing to note going forward. So, so we got to make sure it's outside a banner area to get a better idea. So about 2,100 on this big long line there. If I bring it in good and close to kind of get it outside, okay, there we are. That makes a lot more sense because I was going, whoa, that seemed like a high amount just for that small part there. But it's because all those are just behind the banner. Again, we're learning. I used the radar tool at the old place for about 15 years, and it'll take me a little while to kind of learn everything that this one's capable of, and it's little quirks because everything's got some quirks, right? Make this a 1-hour loop and see. Again, I might be overdoing it on that speed there. Louisville shows 753, so not particularly fast mover. It's not impossible this kicks out a severe thunderstorm warning for some wind gusts, but we don't have a whole lot of indication of that as well. Just looking at the quantity of lightning strikes, that's something that sometimes can be an indicator of that. Then obviously our severe thunderstorm warnings back up north here, including the ones around West Point. Let me see if I can pull up a camera there in the West Point area, and then we need to write on one of those sticky notes, Gabe, that I need to put West Point onto my map at the bottom. I don't know why that's not on there. I thought it was at one point. So West, yeah, there we are, West Point. And so we'll pull that one up for you. Going to kind of kick it over for a second. Just check out basically what's going to be a lot of rain in around the West Point area. Pretty much all directions, nearly blinding rainfall. It looks like there's not a ton of folks on the road. Of course, you are under a severe thunderstorm warning there in the West Point area. And a lot of heavy rainfall showing on all of those various cameras at this time. So definitely watching the heavy rainfall. And in some cases, we've had some flooding issues. Certainly be smart about where you're traveling and when. Again, appreciate the good folks at the Mississippi Department of Transportation. That is one of their cameras there that thankfully we are still able to utilize on this form. I would even go a step above and say sheets of rainfall because it was kind of showing that with the interaction of the wind gust. Shawls of wind. Say that 5 times fast. No, don't. We do have that picture up if we want to take it. Let's go ahead and bring Gabe in here. Gabe, what do you got? So this was posted by James there in Clay County. Like he was mentioning, this is where he saw some of those greens up in the sky. The picture probably doesn't do it. It's all good. Hey, like you said, we're learning. But this picture really doesn't do it as much justice as what he was reporting on the ground. Again, he said he saw some of those greens. We can definitely see some of that lowering on that cloud base. Again, not tornadic, but you just typically see those lower cloud bases with more of those intense storms. So we're getting that over there in Clay County, but just a great shot there from James, and hopefully he stayed safe in the process. I know some of those hailstones, when they fall, as much as we want to see them on the ground, we need to do so in a safe manner. Absolutely. Anything else that you're kind of noticing out there, Gabe, at this time as we're kind of monitoring things? Well, every time I look over to my left, I see a bright flash from Caledonia. So that's really the storm that I've been keeping eyes on back here behind the scenes, but there's plenty of action across the region. Those flood advisories that are still in effect for Coahoma, Quitman, Tallahatchie, and Yalobusha. There's also those severe thunderstorm warnings still in effect through, I believe that was 7:30, right, through this evening? So that's on that extended portion. Even the storms that are not severe are still packing quite a punch with lots of lightning, lots of heavy rainfall, sheets of rainfall, shawls of rainfall, like you said. But don't try using that. That's a terrible. That was just me being. It'll be an inside joke for the folks that are here watching the storm coverage. Oh man, if I ever use shawls of rainfall on the air, something. Then everyone in chat is just going to go, yes, I remember that day. And even beyond that, I mean, what we're seeing. I wanted to look at power outages one more time with how much energy there is in the atmosphere. I would not be surprised if those outages have been on the uptick as those lightning strikes have happened. So pulling that up right here. Is it working? No, I've got something up that's not happy. Give me a moment. Oh, because I got the camera up. Sorry. Oh.
But yeah, I mean, power outages, I would not be surprised because you see basically, it looks like snow on the ground with how many lightning strikes we got.
And these tend to lag. I'll see if I can pull up, actually on that computer over there that you have, see if you can pull up the folks at 4 County Electric.
All right, looking at that real quick and we'll pull up outages. But you can see on the map behind me that there have been some added to that, to those outages that were there before. I'm gonna have to look up specifically outages.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and look those up, and we'll come back and check on that here in a few minutes.
It's when the camera's off is when I just absolutely excel on technology.
Hey, that's okay. So show us those power outages.
So there you can see a lot of them in and around the Ackerman area, there towards French Camp. That was over there towards Choctaw County earlier on. I would say that's easily 200, 300, maybe 400 total on that. Just doing the math in my head, Starkville coming in with about 30 to 40 outages, and then Clay County, of course, they're populating in because the storms are still over the top, so we could see those be added to as we head further into the evening. So hopefully that's not the case, but at least seeing a few outages sprinkled all across the 4 County Electric coverage area, and I know the good folks over there are about to be out and about having a busy evening getting those power outages back online. But that's what we're seeing in 4 County. There's more outages like we saw on the map. You can see behind me there towards Atala County, we have 100 outages, 300 like we were talking about. Could be upwards of 4 or 5 at this point.
And that's the thing, that this map does have a tendency to run behind. PowerOutage.us, which powers this, is always a little bit behind on that.
But at least gives us an idea. And Webster County, that was the new additional one that we didn't have previously, and that's reporting 100 outages so far. And I believe that Sunflower County over there had 100 outages by itself, and you can see why. That storm over there pretty energetic as well. And I don't think we've tracked that here in a minute because there's not much tracking to do on it.
Well, and
it's
this one, it's the flooding rainfall that's probably the bigger impact out of this. It's less likely to produce wind damage or something along those lines.
Yeah, that flood advisory in effect until 8:45 this evening, encompassing all 4 of the counties, Tallahatchie,
I'll let you drive.
Yeah, Coahoma, Equipment, and then even over around Yalobusha County. That is in effect until 8:45, and with more rainfall happening, I mean, can we get those rainfall rates up here?
Rainfall rate, you're going to want to hit TDWR, the Memphis basically Tower Radar.
Okay.
Hit that, and I have them under that menu. So you can show rainfall rate there.
So yeah, some of these rainfall rates, we'll jump to the latest scan and just kind of populate these in. You can definitely see some of those pinks and light pinks showing up, which is 7.2 inches per hour. Now, this has been happening about a little under an hour, so some of those rates might be on the higher end, but I would not be surprised to see 4 or 5 inches total on this. So that's why that flood advisory is in effect. Hopefully it doesn't have to increase to a flash flood warning, but something we're watching heading into the rest of our evening. And we can see over that 12 hours should cover a lot of that. And there's some of those 4 or 5 inches right there. If we populate some of those totals in, that's just east of Webb, south of Highway 32. I think there's a 5 in there. I think I can pinpoint this. Let me see how steady it is. Nope, I'm going to get 4.8 every time. But we are trending up, and so
well, unfortunately, it'll hit 5.
Yeah, and even out here towards Paynes, I mean, we're 4.1 inches with a lot of that rainfall still basically Glendora, Swan Lake, and encompassing a good portion over there. Let's jump back to precipitation mode and kind of see where that rainfall sits with those totals, and you can kind of see it's right around that same general area with rainfall totals expected to spike even there towards Glendora. Payne's probably on the lighter end of this, but you know, these storms have a mind of their own in their path. So we would not be surprised to see that move a little bit more eastward. Some heavy portions out there towards Blue Lake and Minot. So watching that as well for the potential of some more hail development. Some of those cores are increasing just a bit on this storm. But this is just a cluster moving all in one motion, staying together like one big family. And it's not a family we want to be a part of because it's being a lot of flood advisories. So that's the unfortunate thing about it. So flood advisory, again, we're watching for the potential of an increase as those rates become a little bit higher. Again, we're talking 7 inches an hour with some of those torrential downpours. So hopefully not the case, and hopefully these power outages kind of take a step back, but we're assessing the entire area of North Mississippi as more of those severe storms move in, strong storms move in. This one over here towards Tippah and is it Benton County on the other side?
Yeah, Tippah and Benton.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that Benton one looks a little bit more impressive with that hail core. Can we do a 3D analysis on that? That might be able to show us some of those pinks and purples. I saw some people asking in chat, what is this pinks and purples? Is this a new element we're showing?
So this is something that it's easier to show on this system than the old one, and so that's part of the reason why you're seeing it a lot more often. So let me go 3D on here. We'll go to NQA, which is the radar up there in Memphis. And yeah, so I'll let you go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, and if we take that splice, can we do that on the monitor?
Yeah, I'll let you do it.
Okay, so taking that splice, I'm going to take it on this leading edge right here, and let's twist this just a bit.
So you want to hit the next to the minus on bottom. Tap that. Now you want to adjust your angle. Or yeah.
Oh.
There you go.
This is so cool.
Yeah.
And then we can do the 3D?
Yeah.
Okay, let me pull up this cross section. There we go. We're getting some of that hail core as high as 20,000 feet. So this is definitely, I can't move this, can I? Like once the slices happen?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, touch it, you can move it.
Oh my word. I love technology. So yeah, we're seeing upwards of 20,000 feet with that storm and still on the increasing side. This is definitely early in the lifespan, so I don't think we've completely topped out just yet. But some of that could be some small hail reaching down to the surface, but watching that towards Canaan, basically along Highway 72 towards Brody, Hopewell, and Canaan. Let's get this back to our home view and take it off 3D mode. I'm going to change it back to the regular radar here real quick and track this out. And I say track this out, that's if it has a track. So it looks like it's moving southwest at this point. So if we carry that out, and we're going to do the heaviest portions right there along that leading edge where those pinks and purples are popping up. 10 miles an hour? I'll take it there. Canaan 716, Ashland by 8 o'clock. So that's on the...
That's how slow it's going.
Yeah, it is not a mover on this at all. We're basically encompassing the entire area of Highway 72. So hopefully folks are not out and about, but over at home and not going to be in the middle of this, this strong thunderstorm. Speaking of strong thunderstorm, I mean, we're talking about 1,800 lightning strikes over the last 30 minutes. So electric storms there moving across Caledonia, West Point, Cedar Bluff. Severe storms still in effect for, let's see, this first one expires here in the next 6 minutes. Are we at 7:09?
Yeah.
So 6 minutes on that warning, but you can see they extended it there towards Abbott, Griffith, and Cedar Bluff for some of those heavier portions. I would agree with you, Matt. I think we're past that severe threshold. I think we're on the downswing with this. Still very electric, don't get me wrong, but I don't think that hail is nearly as much of a threat. Maybe along that leading edge. Well, latest scans, yeah, not really showing it. Except for over there around Cedar Bluff, you're getting some of those pinks and purples popping up, showing that core still relatively strong. And the last couple scans have that on the increase. Just north of Highway 50, between 389 and Highway 50 there in Clay County. Heavy rainfall from West Point all the way across Highway 50 there towards FIBA. So it's going to be Phoebe.
Yeah.
Apologies
you'll get there. Someone mentioned in chat a moment ago, it's getting bad there in Starkville. Certainly a lot of heavy rainfall with that, but we're not talking, thankfully, about severe weather in the Starkville area, at least Starkville proper. I should say Starkville area if you're on kind of the north side town there, kind of out toward the east. Yes, I mean, that could still have some damaging wind gusts, but the strongest is certainly on the north side.
You guys are past the worst of it. You guys definitely went through a strong thunderstorm. Some pictures that were submitted down around Starkville showed that shelf rolling on through, some great shots there. And again, a big thank you to the weather watchers out in the field submitting their eyes in the sky because it helps us visualize what's happening. And so, you know, they're part of our team. We're not just a 2-3 man team here. Well, 4, should I say. We have 4 on the team now.
Yeah.
But there's more out in the field that are giving us great shots.
Absolutely. You specifically mentioned the field, and I do want to bring up the specific report from the North Mississippi Storm Chaser, James, reporting minor flooding in Ware per the fire chief down there in the Ware community. Of course, Ware in the southern portion of Choctaw County in the Panhandle leg bottom portion that someone has maybe corrected me, but I have not seen it yet there as well. And so I've changed our lightning mode because I just couldn't see the data, honestly, through all the lightning strikes that we had. It's probably part of the reason I had it turned off earlier. And so this is a slower loop. This one falling apart, though. So this will not likely be producing any additional severe weather, and it's highly unlikely this specific storm makes it all the way there to the Louisville area. It's not to say it can't spawn off something else, but I'd say less likely. Coming up here closer to Caledonia, I saw somebody in chat asking about the Caledonia area. Also, someone mentioning Smithville just a second ago. I need to take a look at that. But hold on a second here. Yeah, I don't really see... Oh, they were saying bad in Starkville. Sorry, I saw that. Didn't get that right. Yeah, so I mean, up here toward Hamilton, someone was asking about Caledonia, which we've shown a number of times here. These storms just aren't moving much. This is a very slow loop that I'm showing you here. But as you can see, the expansion of the last half hour has barely happened toward Caledonia. It's trying, but obviously still kind of on the edge of town at this point here. Our initial severe thunderstorm warning will be allowed to expire in all likelihood within the next 2 minutes or so. Have you double checked with the not with North Mississippi, with the folks at the Weather Service there about that?
About the warning?
About the warning, just I'm sure they're probably going to let the first one there. Or just check. You don't need to necessarily double check with them. Just check and see if they've put any additional information. But I bet they'll let that one go. And this is mainly heavy rainfall here in southern Monroe County. And look at that camera in Caledonia. And I do think we will probably wind this down because I got to be honest, when we have severe thunderstorms, we're probably not going to do sustained coverage as long as what we're doing here. Sometimes we will, sometimes we won't. In this case, though, still kind of tracking, again, the heavy rainfall with this. Now, I need to double check something here because I need to see if our, okay, that feed up there for a second, I was like, wait a second, is that locked up? No, we're still good. Again, kind of testing how microphones and everything work in this sort of scenario, but a lot of heavy rainfall moving into Caledonia. One of probably the heavier sites that we have at this instant here. So we'll continue monitoring things for you in Lowndes County. Again, behind the scenes here in Monroe County as well. Severe thunderstorm warning does continue for Oktibbeha, for Clay counties. That specific warning in effect until 7:30 p.m. But again, I think even this storm here is largely on the downswing. A lot of lightning with it. Number of power outages expected to increase. If you would like to share your photographs with us, we would appreciate that. The Mississippi Live Weather app, probably the easiest way to go ahead and do that. Free and available for all of those different devices there. And I'm going to probably finish it up over at the other monitor there because this is something I believe in. It's something that we've had a lot of questions about. Weather Call. You can subscribe to Weather Call. It's a $15 a year cost. It's a way to support us here at Mississippi Live Weather, and my voice will come across your phone and call you if you're in the path of a tornado or severe thunderstorm. So the folks that obviously out there this evening that were in those warnings got those warnings to this point. And so luckily these have not been overly damaging thunderstorms. I do not think we've had any reports of damage. Is that a fair assessment, Gabe?
About
no damage reports at this point here?
Except for that play set.
Except for that play set. I put on damage reports on my map here, and I don't see any at this point. But of course, if you have something to report, using the app, a good way to, of course, send those into us. So we appreciate y'all for watching us here on Mississippi Live Weather at 6, the apparently far extended edition. Won't always go this long when we start talking about severe thunderstorms. From time to time we will, and appreciate all your reports. We'll have the latest update, of course, if warranted, right here live. But then if not the case, coming up during our 10 o'clock broadcast, we'll see if that is ready to click to the next graphic. There we are. Oh, but it wanted me back over at the other spot.
Making a move.
So I know, I'm getting my steps in today. All those folks on Facebook still watching us, we do live stream in the app, and you don't necessarily have to search throughout Facebook. The trade-off on that is there's not that interaction that we have on Facebook, which I know sometimes that whole chat goes wild in its own way, but we appreciate if you're willing to use your smartphone and follow us both on iOS as well as Android devices. It's incredibly helpful for us to support Mississippi Live Weather and make it sustainable into the future. And I thank so many of you, the more than 120,000 of you that I need to double check. 115 was the last number I saw, but it's been about 2 weeks ago. So try not to look too closely at numbers. But we will be live for our next broadcast coming up at 10 p.m. here in the Room to Room Weather Center. And we'll have the latest on the diminishing rain chances over the next couple of days and the heat that is inevitably building behind that. So keep it here for the latest. Make sure those alerts are on, and like and subscribe us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on, of course, YouTube, on our channels there. It makes a difference. It absolutely does. And by the way, if you would like to watch us on your big screen, we do have a Roku app out there, and God willing, creek don't rise too high. We'll have it on the Fire Stick and Apple TV here pretty soon. Keep it here for the latest.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.